Hello all, welcome to part 5 of the Security Tube Metasploit Framework Expert course. In this video, we will look at post-exploitation Kung Fu. So this video is part of the Security Tube Metasploit Framework Expert course and certification. If you're interested, please have a look at securitytube.net/smfe for more details on how to enroll for this certification. Our certifications are currently taken by students from over 30 plus countries around the world. And this video, which is a part of our SMFE program, is made available free of charge in the direction of Security Tube's vision to provide quality yet free InfoSec education for one and all. So if you like the video and you would like to take a certification to further your career, then please visit securitytube.net/smfe. Else all videos on SecurityTube will forever be free of charge. Okay, so in the previous video, we saw how we broke into a computer and then how we had the Meterpreter shell access on it with which we could do a lot of interesting things. Now in this video, let's explore what one can do post-exploitation. So all we will take up in this is understanding the victim better. After that, privilege escalation, deleting logs and killing monitoring software, collecting data, backdoors, rootkits, pivoting, etc. will be seen in other videos. So let's take up understanding the victim better. Now let's move on to the VM. So this is our victim machine, which is running on 192.168.1.100, and here is the attacker machine, which is basically 1.10. So let's exploit the remote machine first. This is similar to what we did in the previous video. So there you go, done. Now once you're on the remote machine, the first thing you need to do is type in sysinfo to understand the remote system better, right? So this says this is Windows XP OS, Service Pack 3, architecture is x86, and a bunch of other things, including the fact that this is the English version of Windows XP. Then you can actually do a get UID to figure out who you have broken in as. In this case, it's great news. We are system because we actually compromise a system service. Now, in order to figure out your process ID, you can actually do a get PID, and this is the current process ID of the process in which we are currently running, which is 1372. You could do a quick PS to actually locate 1372 as the svc host.exe program. Right now, one of the other interesting things which you may want to know is whether the current user is still actively interacting with the system, right? Why? Because if he is, then maybe he could notice something fishy. Now in order to figure that out, hit idle time, and if you notice, this says the user has been idle for around 1 minute and 40 seconds, which isn't much. Maybe he's reading a web page or something like that, right? But this gives you some indication on whether the user is actively interacting with the computer. Now, one of the other interesting things you would want to know is if the victim is running in a virtualized environment, or is it running on actual real hardware. To do that, we actually run a post-exploitation script, a Meterpreter script called checkvm. In order to run Meterpreter scripts, you need to use the run command prefix to it. And if you notice, the output is Sun VirtualBox is what is being used as the virtualization mechanism, right? Now, there are tons of Meterpreter scripts. If you just do run and hit tab twice, you'd see there are tons of possibilities. We'll take up a couple of them. during our videos, but you're free to explore the others. Now, one of the important points I wanted to bring your attention to is initially we had Meterpreter scripts, which were post-exploitation scripts which could leverage the Meterpreter APIs. Later on, what the Metasploit team decided was to have one unified way to actually write modules in Metasploit, and hence converted the Meterpreter scripts into post-exploitation modules. Please note, from a functionality perspective, they remain the same. However, it is just the way in which you write them. So uh, what you would find is a lot of scripts uh, which you basically have run probably just pure Meterpreter scripts are also available as post-exploitation scripts, right? Post-exploitation scripts have the word post prefixed in their path. So as an example, let me show you something interesting. So the same get check VM can also be run as run a post-exploitation script, which basically does the exact same thing. Right, there you go. Oops, specified run twice. Right, same functionality, just kind of wrapped around in a module way. Now, apart from this, you would also probably want to know about your environment. You can do this by running the get environment Meterpreter script, and this gives you a lot of info about the operating system family, the number of processors, and a bunch of other interesting information. If you're curious about the IP address or whether there are multiple adapters, ipconfig would give you that. You could dump the routing tables with the route command. This would give you some example about how the subnet has been configured and whether there are multiple gateways and things like that in the network. One of the other interesting things is when you break onto a system, you would also be interested in knowing the applications which are running on them. So any installed application, apart from the Microsoft utilities which ship with the OS, uh, would typically be available when you run get application list. So if you notice, we can clearly see AVG, which is an AV, is installed, the 2012 version, Microsoft Visual C++, and Oracle VirtualBox is also installed on the remote system, right? Now, if you want to gather a lot of info about the remote system at one shot, let's say you want to download the registry, the password hashes, tokens, and a bunch of things, you can actually run something called scraper. Alright, so this gets a lot of interesting information about the remote system, dumps all of that locally inside the directory. So the directory in which you could find all the info where scraper is dumping all this data currently is in .msf4 logs scripts. You need to go into scraper, and then depending on when this was created, here you go. Right now, this is currently still dumping a lot of interesting information. While it is still dumping this in the background, which is downloading the registry keys and all of that stuff, you could start navigating and looking at all this interesting information. As an example, the hashes have been downloaded for the different accounts. The environment, which is what we actually dumped using get-env, is also available in a new file. Tons of other things, right? So basically what this does is quickly automates the whole process of getting information about the remote system locally, so that you could probably later on do an offline analysis on all of this. Another tool which kind of overlaps a little bit with the functionality of scraper is winenum. This also gets a ton of information by running different Windows utilities and commands on the system, uh, giving you things like, whether the firewall is up, bunch of stuff, right? So for example, firewall show config, all of this, and similar to scraper, this stores it in a directory uh, based on the date during which the compromise happened, right? And you could find a ton of stuff. So for example, task list SVC gives you a list of all the tasks running on the remote system categorized by the services which started those tasks, right? So these scripts are a bit heavy duty at times, as you would notice, and they do take some amount of time to run because in turn they call a lot of other smaller scripts and commands and all of that. But together with scraper, winenum, and you can explore other options, you would actually find a ton of interesting info which can be downloaded, right? So I just hit a control C so that we can speed through this. There you go. So here is a bunch of info which I showed you how you could gather about the remote system. You can try out other Meterpreter scripts and figure out other interesting things. As an example, this one gathers Firefox credentials, this one is FileZilla credentials, a lot of interesting information, to be frank, right? And as you saw, there are around 170 plus Meterpreter scripts. So it's probably difficult to go through each one of them. I've gone through the one which are the most important or stuff which I kind of use most often. Uh, so this is something which you can look at, play around with more scripts. At times you may find a lot of hidden gems which are actually there in these Meterpreter scripts. So try them out. And this is all I had in mind for this video. This video is part of the SMFE course and certification. Please have a look at securitytube.net/SMFE for more details. Thank you very much. In the next video, we will look at post-exploitation privilege escalation. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.